20 years ago, George W. Bush oversaw the beginning of the Afghanistan war. 20 years later, people are trying to argue whether or not it's Joe Biden's fault or Donald Trump's fault. Well, if you want to put blame on somebody, it's definitely Joe Biden. What I find interesting is after 20 years, what have we accomplished? Well, so many of my friends got a chance to die to further politicians' careers, so there is that. Um, I'm so thrilled that could go on. Um, thank God none of my relatives were injured or killed during this word of the day quagmire. Or Pee Wee's Playhouse here. But there's something that keeps pinging against my brain. I can't unthink this. Why? Why now? Why was it done in this way? Are they covering something up? I believe so. Every time there's something crazy like this that goes on, there was always an event that happened the day before or really close to it that caused it to happen. And not always correlation and causation, but it seemed as though Bill Clinton started the Balkans to get Monica Lewinsky's name out of the headlines. There was $1 trillion missing out of some bank account on September 10th, and then on the 11th, planes crashed into a building, and actually 2 planes made 3 buildings fall over. Well, they didn't fall over, they fell straight down. So what event is this hiding? All of a sudden, over the weekend, exactly the things that were stated that were not going to happen did. And at this point, I can infer that every single thing that comes out of that man's mouth, the exact opposite is true. No one's coming for your guns. We're coming for your guns. The vaccine is not going to be mandatory. It's going to be mandatory. It's not going to be like Vietnam. It is exactly like Vietnam. It's actually worse. So what event are they hiding this time? Well, maybe it's the 3rd Hunter Biden laptop they're trying to get out of the news. Or maybe it's something involving the beer bug, or maybe it's missing nukes, or missing money, or the results of an election. Watch this hand. Don't look at this hand over here, even though we're obviously doing something on stage with the right hand. We need you to watch the left hand. So I'm just going to go through some things I took screenshots of, if I can find them. I mean, it's beyond interesting. I did mention the longest war in U.S. history. Everyone's arguing about whether or not Donald Trump or Joe Biden should be blamed, but W. Um, it is interesting that a society that kills millions of babies a year for convenience has shut itself down to prevent adults from dying. And to make matters worse, the people who celebrate the mass slaughter of children are now preaching about the sacred value of human life. They made vaccine cards duplicatable, so they would have a legal justification for the digital version they will roll out eventually. Okay. Already arresting hundreds of people on the black market with vaccine cards. New study has concluded that children born and raised under pandemic restrictions have significantly reduced verbal, motor, and cognitive skills that those born pre-pandemic. Than those born pre-pandemic. Okay. Just think, some of the Marines being dropped off into the swirling mob of chaos in Kabul are facing court-martial in the next 30 days for refusing the vaccination. I did not know that you could get court-martialed for refusing a vaccine. But Biden's America, I wouldn't put it past him. Starting tomorrow, you need proof of vaccination to unlock everything in New York City has to offer, announces Mayor de Blasio as he munches on another burger on camera like a weirdo. I wonder if all those refugees are vaccinated. Fully vaccinated. A fully vaccinated person is going to be an impossible thing. This is an impossible concept because they keep moving the goalpost and saying that you need another dose. Kind of like, the cybersecurity awareness. I've already done my cybersecurity awareness. Oh, this is the new one. This month, year, day. Think about the facts that Americans are risking their lives landing aircraft in Kabul to evacuate American and Afghanistan civilians, and by next month, those same men and women can be dishonorably discharged for refusing an experimental vaccine. That was Candace Owens. See, I didn't know that was the policy now, that you get dishonorably discharged for refusing a vaccine. It's not like they're laundering money or anything. Or opium. The newest Israeli data indicates complete vaccine failure on every level. Israel used only the Pfizer mRNA shot and followed Pfizer dosing schedule. This data from the Israel MOH Telegram account show all serious cases and deaths are now among the vaccinated. Oh, that's interesting. That's Alec Brennison sharing CDC information. That's a CDC link. That's interesting. This is from New York Times. U.S. to advise boosters for most Americans 8 months after vaccination. Well, what was the point in the first one? So if I can still get it, why did I take the first dose? And this thing's falling off. Whatever. I don't care anymore. Well, in the I've already forgotten his name. The head of the Department of the Army, Secretary of the Army, whoever that guy is, he doesn't matter enough for me to even remember his name. But the whole deal about he's worried about white supremacists and his biggest concern is white supremacy in the Army and blah blah, whatever. Well, hey, it's a good thing there weren't any Proud Boys in the middle of that Afghanistan fiery but mostly peaceful change of power. I'm really glad that there were no right wingers, and I'm really glad there weren't any Trump supporters in the crowd. Thank God that there were no Trump supporters or Proud Boys. It's warms the cockles of my heart that the Pashtun people are saved, and that there were no fans of Gavin McInnes in the crowd. Speaking of, here is an example of an actual insurrection where people died and the Taliban are taking sex slaves out of 12-year-olds. and they're actually burning things down, and people are scrambling to get out of the country, and they would rather hang on the side of an aircraft and risk falling off 30,000 feet than to stay in the country with people who would actually behead them. That's an insurrection, not that guided tour on January 6th. That was a guided tour. That was plants. Let's go off on another tangent. The dude with a buffalo helmet, or the Q shaman, none of those people look like Proud Boys. None of those people look like Trump supporters. Most veterans and Trump supporters I've seen are yoked out dudes who, they wear the plate carrier, or they're wearing MAGA hat. None of those weirdos that they got in that photo op look like Trump supporters. They all look like Antifa plants. Not a single defined muscle in the group, except for the Q shaman. That guy, I think, was on a steady diet of mushrooms and acid. None of the people in that little group for that photo op looked like Trump supporters. Again, the people that I would assume to be Trump supporters, the ones that look like Trump supporters in any crowd you can pick up out of any crowd, are very large, meat-eating looking individuals. There's no soybean among them. But I'm supposed to believe that these like 6 very flabby individuals who look like they're in between donut bites caused a national emergency. Get out of here with that. No. I talked to Papa Modalicious. I asked him if this is this what the fall of Saigon was like, and he said that this is actually worse. At least there are no mean tweets. At least this time they didn't use Agent Orange. This time they used depleted uranium and Afghanistan's already toxic sand, and I don't know. Things that you would actually need a hazmat suit for instead of a N95 mask. Hey, you know what? If N95 masks are so useful and effective, why weren't we using those in Afghanistan? Why weren't we using M95 masks during the Scud missile crisis of the Iraq War? You know what? That's just a really interesting question. I'm glad somebody came up with that now. My intro is going to stay as the Afghan War. Those images were, so some of them were stock or taken off of Google and news, but a good majority of those pictures were taken by me. A majority of those images were filmed and shot. I took a lot of pictures, especially the jingle trucks. That was me. But I don't know. I'm glad I got the opportunity to go to Afghanistan. But I don't know. A lot of my friends died in helicopter crashes, or okay. Let's use that argument. We knew what we were getting into. We knew the risks. We signed up anyway. We enlisted or commissioned during a time of war, and we knew what we were getting into. Thank God we knew what we were getting into, and nobody else can be blamed for that. Let's use that argument. We knew what we were getting to. There's absolutely no way you know what you're getting into. You don't know what you're getting into when you step off the bus. When you stand on the yellow footprints That is the extent of your knowledge of boot camp. You're going to get yelled at, and there's boots, and they give you a Kevlar helmet, and eventually you'll get a rifle and you go to a foreign country. And that's the extent of your knowledge of any service branch. What frustrates me more are all my friends that have committed suicide. I'm so glad that their blood sacrifice could further political careers.